The lives of hobos and tramps, begging for food, hopping freight trains, as told by Jack London in his book of short stories called The Road. That's coming up next on The Book Bringer. Stay tuned. It's The Book Bringer, bringing you books. Do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do. Hi, welcome to The Book Bringer. I'm John, your host. Today we're talking about Jack London, his book of short stories called The Road. This particular story from the book is called Holding Her Down, which is tramp slang or hobo slang for being able to stay on a train and not get caught. In this story, while the hobo is begging for food, he gets a big box and he's all excited about it. So let's look what happens next. I hurried to a vacant lot and opened it. First I saw a cake, then more cake, all kinds and makes of cake, and then some. It was all cake, no bread and butter with thick firm slices of meat between, nothing but cake. And I, who of all things abhorred cake most, in another age and clime they sat down by the waters of Babylon and wept. And in a vacant lot in Canada's proud capital, I too sat down and wept. Over a mountain of cake. As one looks upon the face of his dead son, so looked I upon that multitudinous pastry. I suppose that I was an ungrateful tramp, for I refused to partake of the bountiness of the house that had had a party the night before. Evidently the guests hadn't liked the cake either. So here's this hobo, he gets this big box of food, he's all excited, but there's no meat in there. There's no bread, no sandwiches, nothing like that. It's all cake. He doesn't even like cake. And obviously the party guests didn't even like the cake either because they didn't finish it all. There was plenty of cake left over, and that's all he had. So he was very disappointed in that, as you can imagine. He wanted meat. A hobo's got to have meat. Another thing Jack London talks about in the story is hopping freight trains and how dangerous it is jumping from the top of trains, one to the next. Let's look at how he describes that in one scene. The roofs of passenger coaches are not made for midnight promenades, and if anyone thinks they are, let me advise him to try it. Just let him try walking along the roof of a jolting, lurching car with nothing to hold on to but the black and empty air. And when he comes to the down-curving end of the roof, all wet and slippery with dew, let him accelerate his speed so as to step across to the next roof, down-curving and wet and slippery. Believe me, he will learn whether his heart is weak or his head is giddy. So a very dangerous lifestyle this hobo has of just existing, begging for food and now trying to stay on a freight train without getting tossed off. Either tossed off by the authorities or tossed off by falling off the top of the train. So kids, don't try this at home. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Book Bringer. Hey, why not hit the subscribe button? Why not share this with your friends? Hey, we'll catch you next time for more book excerpts on The Book Bringer.